Alright guys, today we have some very good news regarding The Last of Us Part 2 that I think a lot of you will actually be feeling pretty good about. I say this because even though we are going to be covering a rumor in this video, we're going to be talking about that towards the later half of the video. It's a pretty significant rumor, it seems pretty plausible, but before we get into that, we're actually going to cover some news that is legitimate. And it really does make it seem as though Sony is going to be showing off some more of The Last of Us Part 2 very, very soon. In fact, it could be as soon as this time next month. Now, where this comes from is a Gamestop conference, or a manager's conference in particular, where apparently Sony has showed up and they actually treated everybody who is in attendance at this conference to new gameplay, a vertical slice of The Last of Us Part 2 that involved the clickers and kind of showing off how you can use the clickers to your advantage, and it was a heavy stealth segment. And, you know, the first thing I think when I hear this is surely whoever constructed this or decided to do this for this GameStop managers conference at Sony, whether it was the PlayStation executives or, whoever's at Naughty Dog, surely they had to have known that this was going to get out. There's no way they could have imagined doing this and nobody talking about it, nobody mentioning it. It seems like one of these situations where what we're doing now is exactly what Sony wants us to do, where it's making its rounds, it's leaked out here. Somebody on Twitter, actually, who goes by Gaming Forte, posted an image, which I will try to have up on screen, proving that this was something that was actually shown off at the conference, where it shows, him sitting, or her, whoever this may be, sitting in a big crowd and an audience, and there's a big screen, a big projector, and it shows The Last of Us Part 2 up there. So clearly this was legitimate, this was real, this was something that was shown off, and you have to imagine that Sony had every intention of this getting out. There's just, again, no way that they could have done this and expected nobody to talk about it, or for us to not figure out about this being a real thing that happened. And so, this individual was asked on Twitter, is this going to be made public, and if so, when? And this individual just replied with soon. So apparently we can expect it soon, and that's all they said. Now, obviously, there is a very slight chance that this is not what we think it is, but let's be real here. We know that Sony is in a position where they absolutely are going to have to talk more about The Last of Us Part 2 very soon, and it doesn't really make sense for them to wait all the way until PlayStation Experience to do this, simply because the only thing that people are really waiting on at this point, I'd say there's really two things. The first thing is the release date, obviously. And if the release date rumor is to be believed, which one of those rumors is February 2020, then it really wouldn't make that much sense for Sony to announce the release date all the way at the end of the year at December. I just don't see that happening. The other rumored release date is May 2020, which we're going to talk a little bit about that later in this video. But the other thing I'd say people are excited for is the reveal of Joel, or seeing more of Joel in the game. And apparently at this conference as well, Troy Baker made an appearance, and we don't know if any more information was divulged during this conference. Maybe Sony came out on stage and said, look, this is stuff we're going to be showing very soon, or later in the month, or next month, but we're going to treat you guys now and we're going to show it to you guys early. Maybe they said something along those lines. I'm just speculating. There still has to be a little speculation that goes on here, because we don't know exactly when, but the day that most people are pointing to of when we're going to see this new gameplay and get an official release date is on Outbreak Day. And if you don't know, Outbreak Day is on September soon. Well, that is pretty soon. That's just about a month from now, and that would actually make a lot of sense as well. Another thing that people are pointing to is this rumored state of play that we covered a little while ago, where apparently there was a rumor going around that Sony has intentions of hosting another State of Play live stream on November 1st, where The Last of Us was going to, be present, and they were going to reveal the release date there. But I think that pretty much got debunked, because something that a lot of people pointed out is, if you look at that leak, the new Star Wars game from EA was said to show up during the State of Play with a big, gameplay chunk or whatever. It was just going to have a big emphasis on this. And a lot of people were pointing out that Microsoft, as far as we know, has the marketing rights to this Star Wars EA game. So it really wouldn't make a lot of sense, if any at all, for that game to show up during a Sony State of Play. So I think a lot of people kind of like looked at that and said, okay, maybe this is, not the real deal. And we know that Sony doesn't necessarily rely on State of Plays to show off new gameplay or reveals of their bigger games. Just look at Death Stranding. Death Stranding has not appeared during any of Sony's State of Play events, which there's only been like 2 so far, but still, we know it's coming out at the end of this year. They didn't have to rely on these State of Plays to convey that information. So if I had to put my money on it, I would say it's most likely going to be during Outbreak Day, September 26th. I know that a lot of people, and I know that Naughty Dog knows that a lot of people, a lot of fans are certainly expecting something from them on Outbreak Day, and if Naughty Dog thinks that they can make it through Outbreak Day without providing anything new or anything significant, well, come on, they're just not going to do that. We know they're going to be showing something. They know that we're expecting something. So if I had to put my money on it, I'd say it's Outbreak Day. If it's not, then honestly, I don't know. Maybe Sony will have a big State of Play in October and November, revealing it then. But again, we have to keep in mind the rumored release dates of February 2020 and May 2020. And it seems like the February 2020 date is a little bit more realistic, and it seems like that one may actually be the one that's legit. And if that's the case, then they're going to want to announce the release date relatively soon. But moving on from that, I do want to take a little bit of time to cover this new rumor that has come out. It has to do with The Last of Us Part 2 as well, but also the PS5 reveal, and I found it very interesting. It says that Naughty Dog has generally remained tight-lipped regarding The Last of Us 2, although new information appears to have emerged. According to a recent Reddit post, the upcoming sequel will play a fundamental role within the upcoming PlayStation 5 reveal. Suffice to say, there's no way to confirm this information, although some of the details seem rather plausible. Reddit usually is not the most reliable of sources. Previous rumors indicate that a PlayStation meeting event is scheduled for February 12, 2020, which will supposedly entail new details about the highly anticipated PS5 console. The Last of Us 2 is also reportedly touted to launch in February of 2020, making this rumor seem pretty plausible. It goes on to say that Sony will be using The Last of Us Part 2 to show the world the features PS5 has to offer, says the Reddit user the Tom8 in particular. It appears as though the game will showcase the console's unbelievable graphics. The Last of Us 2 will demonstrate phenomenal and stunning visuals while exploring both dynamic lighting and graphics never seen before. This all comes courtesy of Naughty Dog's new engine, reportedly slated to display what's on the horizon with Sony's next generation console. Now, I'm not going to read the entirety of this article because it is pretty lengthy, and I'm going to leave it linked down in the description below so you can go check it out for yourself, but it really puts an emphasis on just how Sony is really going to utilize The Last of Us Part 2 during their PS5 reveal, apparently in February of 2020, to show off just all of the different things that the PS5 is capable of. And honestly, I do believe this, and this does make a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. The main reason being that Naughty Dog is probably the most talented studio in the industry. We've seen what they're capable of, especially when it comes to graphical capabilities and animations. We've seen Digital Foundry kind of break down the gameplay we saw from E3 last year, and to them it was like the most impressive thing they've ever seen. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Sony to really leverage The Last of Us Part 2 and show it off on the PS5. And, that's a big question that a lot of people have had is this game going to release on the PS5? Is it going to get, like, the remaster treatment like we've seen with the original game? I don't think that's going to happen. We know the PS5 is going to be backwards compatible. We know how late in the generation that The Last of Us Part 2 is releasing. So we may find out that it is going to release February of 2020, and maybe we're also going to find out that that's when Sony plans to reveal the PlayStation 5, in full, and they're just going to use that, with all the excitement and the buzz around the release date. They're going to use that as a way to show off, look, like, if you buy this game and you upgrade to the PS5, this is everything you can expect. It's a really good way to actually show off just exactly what the PS5 is capable of, in my opinion, and, using their most talented developers to do so, and clearly their biggest game as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, Again, this is a rumor. It comes from Reddit. We do not know if it's true, and I would not sit here and bank on it, but it is plausible. And so even if somebody did just make this up, it does sound like something that Sony could end up doing, but we really just have to kind of be patient here and wait to see exactly what Sony's plans are. We know that they're going to be doing big things next year for the PS5. We know that The Last of Us Part 2 is really entering its final stages, and people are very, very excited for this game. So at this point, it's just a matter of waiting and seeing, and if anything, I'd say look forward to September 26th. Don't hold me to that. I'm not guaranteeing that on September 26th we're going to get something, but it seems like if there's any time we're going to get something, that's going to be the day. I would be kind of shocked if we didn't, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that does it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it informative. Be sure to also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.